Well, I took me a deep breath. I counted to 3. I am nothing at all like I wanted to be. I was born into comfort. I was raised by TV. I am nothing at all like I wanted to be. Is there cause for suspicion? Can you see what I see? I am nothing at all like I wanted to be. Well, who needs education when you've got a degree? I am nothing at all like I wanted to be. There's a twist in the fabric, there's a knot in the wood. There is no lesser evil, there is no greater good. And every heartbreaking lesson carries no wisdom at all. And I've had more second chances than I care to recall. And in some far-flung aggression, kids are dying for me. But I am nothing at all like I wanted to be. We paid a high price for freedom, still it don't come for free. I am nothing at all like I wanted to be. So I took me a deep breath and I counted to 3. I am nothing at all like I wanted to be. How about a home of the brave? How about a land of the free? I am nothing at all like I wanted to be. Thank you very much indeed. Good evening, welcome to Let the Hard Times Roll. I don't know why it was when I was coming up with the themed shows that I chose to do the excruciatingly difficult album that nearly killed me, like 6 months before doing the joyous follow-up record, because that's what this album really was for me. It was very much a path out of a very dark place. And I loved the process of making the record, and I guess because of how enjoyable it was, and how stressful it wasn't, it remains one of my favorite records that I've made, kind of regardless of whether it's any good or not, but also trying to be objective about it. I also think it's got, probably some of my best songs on it. So all things considered, I think it might be my favorite of my records for a number of reasons. Anyway, so I'm looking at your comments here. So thanks for all the applause. I appreciate that. So I'm just gonna play you a bunch of songs, and if you've got any questions, then fire them at me, and I will maybe say a word or two about some of the songs. I'm going to try not to do that a huge amount because, I don't like it when I get overly rambly. So let's play another one, shall we? So one of the things I really loved about Let the Hard Times Roll was touring it was just loads of fun. The American tours were fantastic. I just had a ridiculous time with my mate Tedder driving around and getting up to all sorts, much of which is written about in my book, which you all have and have read and studied, I'm sure. But one of the things about it was spending time with my band, and my band was essentially just like a bunch of my best mates, and we would and touring with them was just something you do for fun, anyway. And so anyway, it was just such a joy, and especially for this record, because there wasn't a record label, and there was no one kind of trying to make it be something or make it achieve something. So when we went to go and play shows, we were just enjoying hanging out together and playing music, and I think those are always my favorite times, and that's kind of what this song is about. This is I always think of my erstwhile bass player, Joke Man, who's kind of retired from the game now, but he was kind of always my the first name on the team sheet when it came to putting the band together. And so he gets a little name check in this song as well. And if you've read my book, you'll know kind of what happened to Joke Man. So I'm kind of glad that I paid tribute to him before he had his little episode, which I'm going to have to talk about now after the song. Okay, here we go. It's the strangest feeling and I cannot seem to put my finger on it. Hey now, Joke Man, roll that cigarette just like your life depended on it. There's a world behind that truck stop, boys, and it's where I'm heading to. And making up for lost time, well, it's the only thing I really wanna do. Oh, 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 oh. If I see that girl, I'm gonna tell her that she was right about everything. Haven't seen her since that summer when, man, she left without her ring. She made the craziest accusations, but every one of them was true. And making up for lost time, well, it's the only thing I really wanna do. Oh, 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 oh. I wasted too much time picking over all the worries in this heart of mine. Any day I'm gonna see that sun come up on a brave blue morning. Knowing all these days, it's the hardest times, they're the ones I'll miss the most. Why don't you get some rest, man? It's still 3 hours before we hit the coast. Throw your empties on the dashboard, 'cause tonight we're driving through. And making up for lost time, well, it's the only thing I really wanna do. Oh, 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 oh. Only thing I wanna do, oh, it's all I wanna do. Oh, oh, Okay, so what happened to Joke Man? He contracted labyrinthitis. Didn't even know if contracted is the right thing. So labyrinthitis is an inner ear infection, and a lot of people get it, but it affects people in a variety of different ways. And he, I hope he doesn't mind me telling his medical history to a bunch of strangers. But you're not strangers, you know Joke Man. And he got it particularly bad, and so it affects your balance and just your perception of reality and just the way your brain understands sort of up from down. So he would be sort of standing up, but he'd feel like he was spinning, and just being in that state is like disorientating and really affects your mental health in some cases. And he was in kind of a bad way and would be panicky, and he had a pretty big freak out. Kind of, I guess, about half an hour before we went on stage at a festival at Latitude, and just decided well, not decided, but like, you know, he was just like panic stricken and couldn't play, and there were, so I mean, I didn't know what to do. It was a pretty big gig for me, and I kind of had to do the gig, but at the same, like, we weren't going to pull out, but we couldn't really do it without a bass player because we had like a 9-piece band or something. And in the end, he summoned up the bravery and the courage. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot to to go on stage and play a gig when that's what you do all the time anyway. But I mean, he faced some serious demons, and he did it for me, and I will love him forever for doing that. And you know, the show was, you know, I think our heads were in a different place. But anyway, that was Joke Man. So that song was about. I wrote it before that incident happened, and before he got labyrinthitis. But it was kind of about the old days when he and me and Francis Law would just drive off and play shows. And I guess I was particularly thinking about one gig we did with Duke Special in Glasgow, and we finished the gig. And we left Glasgow at midnight and just drove to Eastbourne, which I think is like 10 hours after a gig. And the night before we'd been in Newcastle as well, so that was kind of it was a very long day, and just screaming at each other to try and stay awake while I was doing the drive home is something I'll remember for a long time, and just the amount of like coffee and like Red Bull, which I don't usually like, but you know, it does a job when you need to get there. Anyway, that's that song. Should we move on? So I think probably the first song that I wrote for the album, or you know, the song that was written first and would ultimately end up on the album, is this one. I kind of wrote this just at the moment that the previous record, Songs for the Road, was coming out, so it maybe could have snuck on there, but I'm kind of glad it hung out for this one. Over on the piano, do you join me? Tight faces scream from their bright magazines. You got their fingernails clamped to the page, with a look of the born to be painfully ordinary, gods of a desperate age. There's no stories to tell when there's a spokesperson yelling at a volume to drown out your voice, saying justice be done, there's a change gonna come, but in secret, and you won't have a choice. So to hell with the world, I still love you, my girl. You've been crazy to stay by my side. So let's stand and let's sing, and there are these beautiful things, if you know the places they hide. And the band's playing tunes that mean nothing to you, but you can dance better with the devil, you know. All along I was taught to keep my head above the water, but I might just prefer it below. Yes, and maybe the greatest of heroes inhabit the stories that nobody hears. Yes, and maybe these songs that could have brought you to life weren't allowed to come close to your ears. So to hell with the world, I still love you, my girl. You've been crazy to stay by my side. So let's stand and let's sing, and there are these beautiful things, if you know the places they hide. And they'll hide from you, darling, they will, far away from the changing regimes. There's a light, there's a right tonight, isn't as dark as it seems. So when victory comes, but at too heavy a price, you see there's honor in choosing defeat. Like the boy who was given the keys to the world, deciding to sleep in the street. So to hell with the world, I still love you, my girl. You've been crazy to stay by my side. So let's stand and let's sing, and there are these beautiful things, if you know the places they hide. Thanks. I mean, that's you know, you don't need to explain that. It's a straightforward love song, you know, one of those. But when I write a love song or a song about joy and happiness, I always like to sort of compare it to the sadness and misery that exists elsewhere. You know, just to really let people know what I'm talking about. You know, you can't really know joy and unless you've really had a big old chunk of misery. But for me, the central line of that song is the one in the breakdown when it's when victory comes at too heavy a price. There's honor in choosing defeat, and I think I definitely wrote this song in the strange period for me after getting dropped by my very nice record deal I had in the US with Columbia Sony, which was supposed to be like, you know, that's it, you've arrived. You know, I was for a minute I was a label mate of Bob Dylan and Paul Simon and Leonard Cohen and, you know, the boss, Bruce Springsteen, like, you know, everyone, and it was kind of incredible, and then it just did not happen the way that that all of us, them as well, hoped that it would, and I've sort of worked it out a lot better since. But I think at the time, I sort of had this sort of self-righteous idea that I'd my artistic integrity had led me to essentially choose defeat, you know, just to snatch defeat from the jaws of otherwise victory, because it felt like a more moral thing. And I don't know if I really believe that anymore, but I think it made for a nice line in the song, and I still like to believe that bit's true. Right, anyone got any questions? Oh, hello, Polly Paulsma, magnificent singer and songwriter, is asking me, is that whiskey? No, this is it's. I don't know if the coloration's a little weird. This is the remnants of a Negroni, which is kind of seems to be my gig drink of choice these days. It's booze and booze with a bit of ice in it. It's nice. Actually, Polly's record is Polly's record. She's made hundreds of them, but Polly's album "Scissors in My Pocket" was one of our soundtrack records we used to listen to a lot on the road. So I'm very glad that she has become a very dear friend and occasional collaborator. Right. Can you tell us any stories about touring with Alabama 3? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I did a tour with Alabama 3, and okay, so the things you need to know about them are they're absolutely lovely people, incredibly warm and welcoming and friendly to me. And I was touring with them on my own, so I was driving and I was roadieing, and I didn't have a sound engineer or anything. It was just me on my own, and that's fine, and I don't mind doing it like that. But they were so nice and kind to me. But every night after the show, it would be like yeah, they like to party pretty hard, and I would always have a drive to get to like a travel lodge or something, and so they'd always sort of like, if I were Dave, stay for stuff. Don't want to get into what stuff, but just stuff, and I would always have to go. No, I've got a bit of a drive, and got to get to the hotel. It's just me on my own. It's like, and really, like, I mean, they were, like I say, they were very lovely, but I don't think I wanted to stay for the party. I'm a kind of a clean cut, southern softie, really, and I don't think I could really cut it with them. So it was fortunate in many ways that I always had to get out. Any other questions? Will you play Panic with your lovely music box? Maybe. What's the story behind the piano version of Demons? It's a song, decided to play it on the piano. Nothing more to it than that. Yeah, sorry, haven't got a story about that one. All right, let's move on, shall we? Should I do another one on the piano? Yeah. Now, somebody may correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, this is a song I've only ever played once before. It was the first night of a tour, and I think I played it in Exeter. And I didn't really like it, and I've never played it since. And that was the tour for the album for Let the Hard Times Roll. Maybe I didn't play it anymore because it's kind of jaunty and a bit kind of, I don't know. It's not in my typical style or something. If I have a typical style, anyway. I thought since we're visiting the album, I thought I should probably play it, since a whole load of these songs I've played a bunch before. But like I say, this one, as far as I'm aware, once and once only. Although now that I say that, I did play the entire album at a show in London, so I must have played it at least twice. But I'm pretty sure it didn't go well either time, so let's see if I can exorcise those demons. Okay. Oh, and since we're explaining what songs are about, it's not really about anything, and maybe that's another reason I don't play it. It sort of it maybe lacks the sort of intensity. It's just kind of like a made up kind of love song, and I guess that because it doesn't have a very sort of powerful emotional intensity about it. Maybe that's one of the reasons that it kind of sort of fell off the radar for me. But here it is anyway, because I like it. It's a bit fun. I actually remember vividly at the time the reason this song came about was. I'm not a natural piano player, so I don't really understand any of what these notes are. But I found this chord that I like to play, which is when you're in the key of C, to go to I don't even know what it is, that odd A7 variant, and I just started throwing that in everything, along with the Cheers chord, which I don't think features in this. Anyway, enough yabbering on. I was lost, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't looking at all, I wasn't looking for you. Oh, it's just so hard to see. I left the city giving up on the dream. I said any port in the storm, oh, what the hell does that mean? And you were just so friendly to me. So why don't you stay for another? I used to think I would, but I could never find another love. Oh, Sylvia, nothing to offer, just a cold heart of steel. I wanna know what it is, I wanna know how it feels to think about someone but me. I tell you, Sylvia, I've had enough of all this romantic procedure, these maneuvers of love, and pretty little words that don't mean nothing to me. So why don't you stay for calling like 100 times, but I get no reply. I cannot stand to think she does it just to make me suffer. I used to think I would, but I could never be enough for her. So why don't you stay for another? I used to think I would, but I can never find another love like Sylvia. I'm just dying without your love. Ah, Sylvia. That one's called Sylvia. I don't think I've ever met anyone called Sylvia, which is one of the good reasons to choose a name. Because you don't want anyone to think that it was about them now do you? I think I got the name Sylvia from my former agent's mother, who I used to have like a really great booking agent in the United States, like one of the best in the whole business, and he was really nice, and early on was very keen indeed. Less so after we didn't sell any records, but one of the perks of having him as an agent was I would get to stay in his apartment in New York. It wasn't a fancy apartment, but the location was fantastic. It was right opposite Gramercy Park, which is, I believe, the only private park in New York, which is a bit elitist, but essentially you can't go in there unless you have a key, and you can't get a key unless you live on the immediate blocks surrounding it. And because he had an apartment there, we had a key, and so, yeah, I am one of the relatively few people who have actually gone and sat down on a bench in Gramercy Park. And anyway, his mother, Sylvia, had a memorial bench there, where we would go and sit and pay our respects. And so Sylvia became a safe name to use in a song. So that's where that song came from. Messing around on the piano and a name carved on a bench. Right, any other... Oh, we named our daughter Sylvia. Yes, Sylvia's mother. I was going to say... Okay, I'll read the whole thing. We named our daughter Sylvia, and when we told the midwife it was after a song, she said, "Oh yes, I love that song," and then danced around singing Dr. Hook's Sylvia's Mother, which is a great song. So I have no shame in that. And yes, it's distinctly better known than mine. Right. I wonder if we should have a little moment to do this. I've been doing these videos lately of playing live, but playing live 4 times because I sort of miss playing with a band and actually doing full arrangements. It's nice here, and I can do a bit with the loop machine, but really that whole kind of like playing live thing I miss, and particularly sort of the noise and being able to do like full arrangements. So anyway, I've been doing a few of these, and here's one that I've done of maybe my favorite song on the record. Which I sort of really wanted to do with a bit more detail. So here's a song for you. Maybe I'll talk about it afterwards. I've searched the places I have been to understand the sorry state I'm in. The only answers I can find go lost with my tiny mind somewhere so many years ago. And oh my Lord, I can't believe these crimes that are accused of me. Now my memory's all short. I don't know if I'm guilty or if I'm not. Still I'll try to clear my name. And all I can do is wait and see if sweet salvation will come and rescue me from all this weary flesh and bones. I still walk this path alone, just waiting for the storm. I've heard it often said, there's only one sure thing. So I'll be braced against the storm, but I'll be hoping I will be hoping that the springtime will come. Maybe the sky above will break. I'm hanging on for pure survival's sake. So ashamed of what I done, I'm scared by what's to come. I'm just waiting for the storm. I've heard it often said, there's only one sure thing. So I'll be braced against the storm, but I'll be hoping I will be hoping that the springtime will come. I'll be the one to take the fall for all these sorry sons of bitches, all and clutching at the shortest straw, a martyr without a cause, just waiting for the storm. I know this weary flesh and bones. I still walk this path alone, just waiting for the storm. How about a round of applause for the band? Thank you. Yeah, those things are fun to do. Right, I've got a bunch of questions here. Why did Down by the Sea not make it onto this record? Well, there's already 13 songs on the album, which is like way. I think 10 is the most I've ever managed before or since. So not everything can make it, and you have to make a sort of bit of a judgment call. I like that song, but yeah. You got to draw a line, and that's where I drew it. Someone before mentioned a special edition of this record. Well, there was this special edition of the record, which has got like a whole book in it, with like lots of pictures and stuff and all the words and yeah. So there was that, but I think it was limited to enough that there aren't any left. So there was one, but you can't have it. There you go. And there was also I also did the ridiculous ultra special limited edition box set, which was, I mean, it was a box the size of a wardrobe, which we called the gentleman's box. It was, and that had everything in it. That had, it was a one-off original, so it had a copy of every record I'd ever made up to that point. It had all the old notebooks from writing the songs. It had the typewriter that I used for typing out the artwork. It had my old hat that I used to wear on tour. It had the jacket that I wore on stage and in videos and stuff, album covers and the like. You know, it was just, essentially it was like all, if I ever were to become famous, it would have been worth millions. Like if you had that stuff belonging to someone who actually was someone, then like it would be priceless. But in the end, we auctioned it off for a pretty penny, admittedly. But yeah, you wouldn't really say that it was a box set in the sense that there was only ever one of them, and there will not be another. Oh, I've lost the message. Oh, they're over there. Oh, I really wish I knew how to use this machine. Where are you? Oh, there you are. It's all over there. Why has that happened? Okay. Oh, there we go. Any other questions? What order do you normally do the 4-take tracks in? That's an interesting question. So it changes. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just play it through on just like on acoustic guitar and sing along, and then I'll play everything else to that, and then the last thing I'll do is replace the first thing that I did so that it kind of all fits. But when I did Waiting for the Storm, I did the acoustic guitar and vocal first, then I did the piano, then I did the drums, and I did bass last. Don't know why, just seemed to kind of fit that way. There you go. There's no. Oh, just turn my reverb on. There's no sort of real. It's not really thought through all that well. Do you ever play Call to Arms live? I used to play it loads. That used to always be for a while. Certainly when I was touring this record, that was like the album closer. And I first started playing that song in America. I was on a very long tour of America, like 6 months. I was out there, and it kind of started to get me down a little bit, being so far from home. I used to suffer with like homesickness quite a lot being on tour, and I remember being in California and playing a wretched show in Sacramento, and I sort of cursed the name of that city ever since. I'm sure Sacramento is very nice, but like the fucking people who came to that gig were not nice, and I didn't play well, and I wasn't in a good mood, and I was. Yeah, I had a really, really bad night, and I just left the gig after my set. I was opening up for Ingrid Michaelson, who I love, and Newton Faulkner, who I also love, was on the tour as well. So it was a really lovely tour to be on, but like in my game was a bit slack. I was sort of having, I don't know, maybe crises of confidence. Certainly homesickness was an issue for me. Anyway, I was a very long way from home, and I did not enjoy the gig at all, and that I hate not enjoying gigs because I love playing shows, and to not enjoy it feels like just such a horrible waste. It makes me truly miserable to play a bad show, and luckily for me, I very rarely feel that way. But this night in Sacramento was terrible, and anyway, I'm getting to the purpose of this story. I think the next night we were in Portland, Oregon, and for some reason, I decided the thing that would make me happy would be to buy a guitar. And I know that sounds, maybe a bit flash to do that, but it was like I was touring with just an acoustic guitar because traveling is difficult around the States, and if you've got like acoustic, electric, and all my loop stuff and a keyboard, like you can't make it happen. So I didn't have an electric guitar, and I was like, I think what I want for this gig is I need to get my hands on an electric guitar, and so. In Portland, or maybe it was Seattle, I'm not sure, one or the other, I went to this guitar store and I found this like early 1960s Harmony Stratotone, which I love those guitars. They're like on a bunch of Tom Waits records, and Mark Rebo plays them, and they have a particular kind of sound and character. yeah, it cheered me up a great deal, and it meant that I could then sort of rock out a bit in my shows. And I like to turn the noise up and get a bit noisy. And I guess I must have borrowed an amp from someone in Ingrid's band. And anyway, yeah, sort of got my racket on, and very kindly, I think pretty much everyone in Ingrid's band came and sang the backing vocals on Call to Arms, which was like a brand new song that I think I'd never played before until maybe even that night in Portland or possibly Seattle. And the song really represents for me that tour turning around and that whole trip kind of suddenly feeling a lot more friendly and good for me. And partly I think it was being able to sing a song with other people and playing a new song and playing a new instrument, albeit a very old one. And just sometimes that happens, you know. It's like I'm sure people are like that with, like, you know, you get a new pair of shoes and like it just makes life that much better. For me, you know, like the acquisition of an old guitar, you know, with stories to tell, is lovely. Much like this old fella behind me, which. Oh my God, I'm rambling again, aren't I? I bought that one on eBay because I really wanted a Gibson 125. I love them. They're kind of like the cheaper of the old school Gibson big hollow bastards. But I really like their character, and like I like the fact that they're not like $3,000 or something to buy. And anyway, I bought that one off a fellow on eBay, and then when I went to go and pick it up, it turns out that he wrote. Or co-wrote the entire Bucks Fizz back catalogue, which was significant because the guy he co-wrote it with was some guy that I know, Andy Hill, who I've written with and is a very dear friend of mine. So and they were sort of estranged, and they had a falling out years ago, and it was a lovely moment that because I'd been privy to some of the conversations that Andy had. You know, some of the things he'd said about this guy, and it was all sort of like, you know, warm and tender and just like regretful that they'd fallen out. So for a minute there, that guitar, I like to think, was part of the reconciliation of two old friends and comrades who, amongst other things, wrote a bunch of Bucks Fizz songs. You know, which as pop goes, they get the job done. Anyway, there's a distraction for you. Now, let me just have one last look to see if there's any more questions. Oh my God, there's hundreds. Any hidden demos / unreleased tracks from this likely to arrive on Bandcamp? No, they would have been there already, but I didn't really have any outtakes. Like everything that was recorded was the record. Yeah. Could you please tell me which Neil Young book? It's called Waging Heavy Peace, the Neil Young book that I have, and I can't tell you if it's any good because I've not read it. Okay, so the song Missouri is a very short song that I recorded in a motel room. I was going to play a song, wasn't I? I'm rambling again. Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say. So there's a short song on the album called Missouri, and it was recorded at the Roadway Inn Motel in Warrensburg, Missouri. I was on this tour, and I'd played in Minneapolis the night before, and then my manager Wibbly flew back to the UK, and I had to go to Kansas City to do some radio thing like in 5 days, and so I drove down to Warrensburg and checked into some roadside motel and just stayed there for 3 days and didn't go to Kansas City, which I really should have done because culture and stuff. Instead, I basically just stayed in this motel by the roadside for 3 days, and it was weird. There was a Taco Bell next door, and that was pretty much it. And I was going a little bit cabin crazy, and so I recorded. I had this little. So I had a laptop with me and this little sort of recording interface thing, and a couple of microphones, and so I recorded the whole track in the motel room. and there's not a lot of song there, but it was just about being a long way from home, which I absolutely was, and the reason it's short was because, that's all I wrote, and I was recording it as I was writing it, and that's how it went down. And it features some almost certainly flagrant copyright abuse because I just recorded voices off the TV, reading the news and the weather and stuff, and it had a certain vibe, and in the end, I sort of wanted it to go on the record as a, partly because it's so short, it wasn't really gonna, fill the thing up too much, but as sort of a bit of a record of that strange time, because I think those themes of trekking across the US and it not always being a good time was definitely something that informed the background of the record. Anyway, enough yabbering on. I'm gonna try something now, which is dangerous, because this thing doesn't always work so well. Right. Here we go. Exactly where should I begin? Forgive me, Father, I've sinned, been caught perpetuating wrongs. I screamed in accusation, and yet convinced that still I can somehow be better than I am. If I could only bring myself to step in one direction. But all this progress I've made has left me bitter and afraid. I'll bolt the doors and let the trappings of my life surround me. And to God nobody calls, but trust the scratching in the walls to be my comfort and my shelter from the world around me. Ignore the whisper on the wind. Forgive me, Father, I've sinned. I swear right now I cling to anything you'd care to show me, to save me from improper thoughts, the modern miracle of sorts, against the tide of advertising and survival only. A precondition has been set, and every new potential threat must be eradicated from the face of all that's sacred. And none shall stand before the cause. I'll be hysterically yours, and deaf to any reason, evidence, or explanation. Tell me, what have I become? A middle finger to the sun. I traded fireworks for love and I was left with nothing but paper shards and empty shells. A burst of sulfur, burn of hell. Just might be that all this history has taught me something, and taken lessons from the past. I won't build anything to last, but engineer to fall apart the day the warranty expires. To keep the wheels turning round, keep my flag pinned to the ground. Just don't look back and don't look down. In fact, try not to look at all. I see opinion dressed as fact, see definitions inexact, explain away the darkest days as misinterpretation. This dumbing down is so uncouth, like there's one single fucking truth, like good and bad, right and wrong could be so uncomplicated. And swagger dripping from the stage. Curse the impatience of the age. Takes time and time is money. Money talks and talk is cheap. Cheapest road to lead the way from sea to forest in a day. By the time the sun has set, there's only dirt and matchwood. Could it be the end is nigh, and the time for idly standing by is now upon us? Everybody look to some distraction. I threw my patience to the wind. Forgive me, Father, my sins were like they're woven double-stitched to the fabric of the world. There you go. That's an odd song. That's one of those songs that I think there's at least one on every record where the song structure is verse, 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 and it gets progressively louder, and then I shout more, and then at some point I'll say fuck, and it's probably about the government on some level. Anyway, that song's called Panic. That was features the music box, which is a there you go. I'll give you a glimpse behind the scenes. It's got one of these funny little machines in it that you punch holes in this piece of paper and then connect the two ends together, and it makes a loop. And my friend Hannah Peel used to use those a lot in her show, and I kind of loved it, and so stole it a little bit and amended it slightly for my own ends. In my defense, I did build her a very nice music box as well. Right, let's see. Oh, that's what I like to see. No question, just a bunch of hand clapping. Right, okay. Oh yeah. Well, so John's asking, did you teach Hannah about music box? Did she teach you, or is it a joint effort? I mean, like, so she. I definitely saw her use the music box, like the same setup first, and then I kind of think my amendment was the looping it together, but also actually sort of building it into a box and putting a proper pickup in it and all that stuff. So but essentially the soundscape idea was hers. Not that she invented it, but certainly I nicked it off her rather than anyone else. But there you go. It's not nicking. It's sharing, isn't it? It's yeah, right. Something weird in my beer. Strange. Right, I've been talking too much, so. This is another song that I really haven't played very much. Maybe the reasons are about to become apparent, but so as anyone who saw the Songs for the Road show will have learned all about my partial breakdown that I had as a result of making that record. And I never got so far as being diagnosed as being depressed or anything. But I think that I think that's probably what was going on with me. And so this song is sort of about how that felt. The way it manifested itself for me at that time was like I really didn't have. extremities of feeling. I never felt particularly happy or sad. I just sort of was like in the middle the whole time. You know, not so much numb, but just sort of like, you know, nothing really shifted the needle up or down much. I felt okay. I didn't feel like miserable, but I just didn't really feel. You know, in many ways, it would have been better to feel miserable because that would have been something. You know. Anyway, so this song is about that curious kind of being middly. Well, it's none for sorrow, none for joy. Oh, meet me in the middle. Nothing hurts a concrete boy, so meet me in the middle. Run these feelings out of town, then come meet me in the middle. If it doesn't go up, well, it won't come down, so meet me in the middle. Bulletproof and tough as hell, out in the pouring rain I will stand. I miss my own heart that bruised so well when I was a younger man. So nail my colors to the floor, then come meet me in the middle. Oh, what the hell's today been for me? Me in the middle. Bulletproof and tough as hell, out in the pouring rain I will stand. I miss my own heart that bruised so well when I was a younger man. So it's none for sorrow, none for joy. Oh, meet me in the middle. Nothing hurts a concrete boy, so meet me in the middle. Oh, meet me in the middle. Thanks. So yeah, maybe I don't play that one very often because it's kind of dreary, right? Well, not about dreary, but it's maybe not something that I like to dwell upon all that much. I like the song, and I noticed while I was playing it, because my mind wanders when I play songs sometimes, in a good way, not in a bad way. It's not that I'm not really into it, but I noticed that song, and then I was thinking, I think it happens on the album quite a lot. I think this was probably the height of my taking kind of everyday phrases and cliches and figures of speech and just sort of messing with them. So none for sorrow, none for joy. I thought that was a nice twist for essentially saying that there was neither. One for sorrow, two for joy. But it's like zero for both. And then what else is there? Like, nail my colors to the floor instead of nail my colors to the mast. Just down there so it can't move. That was. Are there any other of these messed up puns in there? Yeah, if it doesn't go up, it won't come down. And then I was thinking, well, in actual fact, that the whole album title, "Let the Hard Times Roll," being I suppose like a twisted homage to the Good Times Roll, Sam Cooke thing. But for me, the album title isn't a negative thing. It's like a real positive. It's like, let the hard times roll. Just get on with it. It doesn't matter. And actually, I think there's like 3 different songs that have lines about like hard times in them. And I suppose that's what I was doing in the album, was sort of exorcising whatever experience of for me what felt like hard times, and just sort of just working through it and getting past it. And so the last 2 songs on the album, I guess, which I'll play now, both have the variations on the album title in the lyric. Because if it's good line, recycle it, use it lots. I'm not the only person who does it. Right, this song's a bit of a favorite. I keep saying that, don't I? I just like this record. Sorry, I know I should be a bit more cool and aloof and self-deprecating, but I really like this album. It's a dear old friend. So this song isn't a particularly joyous one, but I like angry, shouty songs. So yeah, Sasumi. Right. But the weird thing about this song is, even though I've played it a lot and I do really like it, I never ever remember the words. And like I generally remember the words to. There are some songs that, even though they're really wordy and complicated, like they're in there, like anything. This one just will not stick in my brain. So whenever I play it, I always have to have the words in front of me, and I don't know why, because I like the words. They're pretty good, if I do say so myself. Right, this is called Hurricane, or Hurricane if you're English. Let's do it up here. Darling, don't wake from your sleep. There's just commercials and a war on TV. The dam is at breach, so it seems, and there are footsteps and they're coming for me. So close your eyes and sleep. Here comes the hurricane, here comes the flood, here comes a tidal wave of landsliding mud. It's never enough to make me repent all these things that I have done. And it feels like the neutral's been wired to the live. I feel like some hero been doomed to survive, and it's never enough to shake the foundations and rattle the walls. So book me a seat and I'm along for the ride. Now is the age to just let it all slide, and it's never enough to ask any difficult questions at all. And who gives a damn if this conspiracy is real? This whole generation asleep at the wheel, and it's never enough. Let the hard times roll, no, we're not in control, and we'd be crazy to think that we are. There's no death or glory, no line in the sand. Blaze up these fireworks and strike up the band. It's never enough, and this is no time to stand up and be counted. God bless America, God save the Queen. God kill my enemies and keep my hands clean. And it's never enough. The surroundings, they're just too damn comfortable here. Well, this land is your land, this land is mine. Now pull up a chair and we can watch the decline. And it's never enough, and this medication's not wearing off anytime soon. And this progress is a 21st century curse. The times are a-changing and they'll change for the worse. And it's never enough. Let the hard times roll, no, we're not in control, and we'd be crazy to think that they are. Okay, anyone got anything interesting to say? Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Yes, I did play that in Philadelphia with a string quartet. The few shows I played with string section is like, yeah, a real joy. Essentially, that's so. If you a few years back, I had the strange but very good fortune to have Johnny Hallyday cover one of my songs, and that essentially kept me from having to go and get a proper job. So the reason I'm still doing this is largely thanks to that little moment that Johnny really did me a solid. But what I actually in the short term spent the money on was doing a tour with a string quartet, because like that does not make any money. So in order to take a hit and make a loss on the tour, I've been wanting to do it for ages, but knew that it was I couldn't afford to do it. So Johnny helped to do that, and I was able to play songs like that one with the whole Strings of Fury, and that night in Philadelphia, like that was the only show in the US with the strings players, and as I'm sure will surprise nobody, Philadelphia is my favorite town in the United States. So if it was going to be anywhere, it was going to be there, and it was my first time playing in the big room at World Cafe Live, headlining there anyway. And it was also the night of ridiculous. It was like a terrible cold snap. It was like, I think it was like late March, so it should have been done by then. But it was I think the river, the Delaware, had actually frozen solid. It was that cold, and for reasons, I booked accommodations like months in advance, and I thought, oh, it'll be really nice in March. I found an Airbnb that was on a boat that was like moored on the river, and the river was just frozen, so the boat was just like lodged in ice, and it was freezing cold because it had like one little electric heater on this boat, and like me and my man Piss Whiskey, who was my side man for that tour, and Emily Grove stayed on the boat as well. And we were lucky to survive the night, especially because when we woke up the next morning, the boat next to ours had actually sunk. What nobody told me was that if it gets too cold, then there's like something in the hull of the boat that just like pops out like a cork, and then the boat just sinks. And so the boat next to us was not there in the morning. It was there were the like divers going down to try and retrieve bits of it as we woke up to go to the next show. So that was my experience of playing with string players in Philadelphia. There we go. That was a bit of a rambling tale. Right, so I guess I'm going to wrap things up. I haven't played everything off the album, but like I said, it's a long record. It's got 13 songs, so I kind of wanted to lean on the songs that maybe I don't play so often. So I don't think I'm going to do Stephen, because I play that often, and you all know what that one's about. That requires a lot of talking, and the time for talking is done. I'm going to grab this lovely old guitar again, and this little cheating machine, and I'm going to play you the closing song off the record, and that'll just about do it. So unless anyone has anything particularly profound they want to bring to the show. Chris, I've missed some top motorway service station chat. What's your favourite? Oh, my favourite motorway services are... I like the ones that sound like... we always thought there are some that sound like they're like American like quiz show hosts. Like Lee Delamere, which is kind of Chippenham services. Or what other ones are like that? Hi, I'm Newport Pagnell. That sort of thing. So I like anything that sounds like it could be. What's that one on the M6 toll? That one's got a good name, hasn't it? I don't know. To be honest, I've been off the road for a while, so my motorway services banter is a little bit rusty. Well, here's okay, Laura. So long since we've seen you live. Well, I mean, I'm doing my best. Any chance of making the Donkey your first one back? So that's the Donkey in Leicester, a very, very dear place, very close to my heart. But the Donkey is under new management now. I since learned, because I tried to book it on the last tour I was booking that wasn't going to happen anyway. One of the things I love most about playing at the Donkey was Warren and Zoe, who were running that place, just so lovely. Which is not to be disparaging about the people who are running it now, but I don't have that same history with them. But otherwise, when you operate on the level that I do, having sort of friends at venues and places where you know them and they know you and they're willing to book you, and there's no kind of like messing around and nonsense involved is really valuable. And so I could tell you the venues around the country and in other countries as well where they are particularly artist friendly, or at least have been friendly to me as an artist. They're essentially the ones that I go to time and time again. I go there because we have a certain mutual affection and yeah, we dig each other. Right. Anything else before we round off this humiliation? So some chat about getting a US work visa. Yeah, getting a US visa to tour in the US is really difficult if you don't have like this is boring, chap. If you don't have a record label or a booking agent, like they really don't want you coming there, as far as I can tell. So Yeah. Right, anyway, I could just sit there and just silently read people's comments all evening, but I realise that's not going to be very good TV, is it? So, Call to Arms. So yeah, this is the song that I started playing on that US tour I was talking about. That kind of that sort of made me feel better about the whole thing. And it's a bit of a favourite of mine. I'm very fond of it, and it sort of got adopted by my beloved charity Reverse Ret to be something of a theme tune of theirs. So I've played it at some of their events before, and so it's sort of taken on that additional meaning to me. This show is free. I'm not asking for any of your money, but if you want to make a donation to Reverse Ret, it's a wonderful cause if you feel that way inclined. I'm going to leave you with this. This is called Call to Arms. Thank you so much for joining me. I've got to say, I didn't doubt it for a minute, but I've found this to be one of the least stressful live shows that I've done, and I think it's sort of embodied in the songs and just the spirit of that record. So, you know, thanks. I know it's weird. So thanks to that record I made for being there. But seriously, like as a songwriter and as a recording, are we going to say artist? Let's say that. I find anyway that your records are like your babies, and rather your songs are like your babies, and so your records are, I don't know, like a collection of your children, and your records have sort of personality in a weird sort of way, and they have characteristics. And I've got to say, just like the previous Born before this one was kind of a pain in the ass, but Let the Hard Times Roll was just a joy, just a joyous fruit of my loins. And I have nothing but love and affection for the time that I spent making the record and touring the record, and like it was all lovely. So thank you to anyone who was there for that and took part in it. Which is not to say that everything since has been awful, but I think just because it was such a lovely episode to follow what was a very difficult one. I think I will forever be grateful for that moment. So I will leave you with a song that I think maybe encapsulates some of those ideas. This is a call to arms. Hold your darling tight. Don't let her go at the fork in the road. This is a call to arms. This is a call to arms. Let us not be defeated, even though we can't win. 'Cause I see there's a crack in the walls of the mess that we're in. Let us not be divided. I cannot make it alone. But I've got a heart full of somebody calling me home. And this is a call to arms. Hold your darling tight. Don't let her go at the fork in the road. is a call to arms. This is a call to arms. I've never been one for fighting, but I'm not about to lay down, 'cause I still have my faith in the dust of this dirty old town. I wouldn't have it all easy, so come on, let the hard times begin. Let's kick through the crack in the walls of the mess that we're in. Let's sing, this is a call to arms. Hold your darling tight. Don't let her go at the fork in the road. This is a call to arms. This is a call to arms. The road it is long, and maybe I'm done. Still I want you to know your love has meant everything now. Pick up your voice and sing, 'cause this is a call to arms. Hold your darling tight, and don't let her go at the fork in the road. This is a call to arms. This is a call to arms. And this is a call to arms. Hold your darling tight. Oh, and don't let her go at the fork in the road. This is a call to arms. 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 Thank you very much, and good evening.